Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are strapping in for what feels like a mandatory tour through the current chaotic state of cybersecurity.
It definitely feels that way.
So if you are preparing for a security review, maybe trying to understand where the biggest risk is moving, or you just feel like you're constantly playing catch up, this is your shortcut.
That's right. The sources you shared, they paint a really striking picture. The threat landscape is evolving so quickly because of AI, but the foundation is it's still rooted in these chronic, persistent failures.
Especially around identity.
Exactly, identity. And we're looking at a world where digital and physical threats are just merging into one giant headache.
And our sources suggest that feeling of hopelessness, that perpetual cat and mouse game.
It's valid.
It's totally valid. But understanding the threat is the first step past that.
So our mission today is really to move beyond that frustration. We're going to break down where the chronic threats are gaining resilience and clarify exactly how these basic, decades-old security failures are still enabling the biggest breaches. And critically, examine how we have to adapt our defensive strategies for these new high-impact vectors like autonomous AI and robotics.
Okay, so we've broken this into 4 connected areas for you. First, the sheer frustrating resilience of ransomware. It's basically a mythological monster at this point. Second, the story of the Zestix actor, which just proves that failing basic identity hygiene is still what dictates success. Third, why AI agents are poised to become the ultimate insider threat inside your enterprise.
A really important one.
And finally, the scary reality of physical botnets, which is thanks to hacking humanoid robots with simple voice commands.
Yep.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the Hydra.
Let's start with ransomware. It really sets the context for, the chronic nature of the threat environment.
Okay.
The analysis we have, it's drawing on data from Luke Connolly at MSC Soft, and it confirms something. Well, something troubling. Law enforcement had some really high-profile major wins in 2025. I mean, big group takedowns.
Yeah, I remember those.
And yet, the overall pace of ransomware activity didn't slow down at all. It held the exact same pace as the previous year.
That's the definition of security whack-a-mole, isn't it? You cut off the head of the largest group, and then nothing seems to change in the overall volume of attacks.
It is, and we really need to stop viewing this as a solvable problem. Crime is chronic. It existed long before computers, and it's going to persist. The goal here isn't eradication. That's a fantasy.
So it's about management.
It's robust management and organizational resilience. And the core finding here is in the fragmentation. Even as these big groups fragment, the average number of victims per group stays consistently right around the 60s.
So the smaller groups are just as effective.
Highly effective. We're not just dealing with big central gangs anymore. We're dealing with a whole industrialized ecosystem.
Wow.
Exactly. And this is where that powerful metaphor from the sources becomes so valuable. Ransomware has become a decentralized, resilient, and evasive Hydra.
Right, the mythological monster.
You cut off one head, you arrest one major leadership team and 2 smaller, but just as professional, groups emerge. They're using the same tools, the same shared knowledge base.
And the economic incentives are all still there.
Totally intact. And the blueprints for attack are now modular, easily transferable.
And what's fueling this fragmentation, making those new groups so immediately effective? It has to be AI.
It's AI. The sources are clear. AI agents are dramatically lowering the technical and monetary barriers to entry for attackers.
So how does that, manifest in the real world?
It's all about full automation. We are now seeing true ransomware as a service, RAS, and it's driven by AI. An agent can autonomously handle sophisticated operations that used to require a whole team of human hackers.
Like what kinds of operations?
Well, identifying niche, high-value targets, creating these hyper-personalized, really convincing phishing emails, and then running the entire kill chain all on its own.
The whole thing.
From initial access to attack execution, even collecting the ransom payment. The speed and the scale are just unparalleled.
So AI doesn't just make the attacks more complex. It industrializes the simplest parts, making it accessible to, smaller criminal groups.
Exactly. And if attackers are achieving that kind of scale and speed, well, that has huge implications for the defender's strategy.
It means you have to accept that a breach is inevitable.
You do. Law enforcement disruptions are vital, don't get me wrong. They force criminals to spend time rebuilding. But organizations have to shift their focus.
To resilience.
The strategic imperative is resilience. You need deep, multi-layered prevention, of course, but you have to place equal emphasis on response, rapid rebuild, and recovery planning.
So if attackers are using AI to scale,
Defenders have to use AI tools too, in detection, in triage, in automated response, just to keep pace with the sheer volume and velocity of what's coming at them.
that brings us perfectly to the root cause of so many of these intrusions. It's not always some sophisticated zero-day exploit. It's often a basic catastrophic failure.
It almost always is.
Let's talk about Zestics. This is a story from a Hudson Rock report about a single threat actor who breached 50 corporate clouds globally.
And what makes Zestix so frustrating is the method. I mean, this wasn't advanced nation-state tactics.
Right.
They were just searching readily available info stealer logs on the dark web, pulling up credentials and trying them out.
So simple.
And they were successful because these global organizations, some very large ones, failed at the most basic level of security hygiene. They either weren't enforcing multi-factor authentication, MFA, or they allowed password reuse across
It
services.
sounds painfully simple.
Yeah.
And yet this method gets you into 50 corporate networks.
Yeah.
It just screams that identity is still the fundamental vulnerability.
Is the weakest link. We have known this for a generation, but the lesson hasn't stuck.
So once they have the identity,
It's game over. They inherit all the users' entitlements, their privileges. This is the entire driving force behind the security industry's push for the last decade to move away from perimeter-based security, firewalls, to completely identity-centric security. Your user is your perimeter now.
one of our sources just captured the frustration perfectly.
Yeah.
They called the failure to enforce MFA or stop credential reuse a broken record that has been on play and rewind forever. So I have to ask you, genuinely, if the risk is so clear and the protection MFA has been around for years, what is the roadblock here? Why can't we get this basic security implemented everywhere?
Well, the security community has reached consensus on one thing. Passwords stink. They just do. They're inconvenient. They're often weak. They're inherently vulnerable to phishing and malware.
So it's user friction.
It's user resistance and organizational inertia. It's hard to change.
Which brings us to the solution mentioned in the sources. Passkeys.
Passkeys are the future. I really believe that. They are a cryptographically secure, proven technology that eliminates passwords entirely. And crucially, they solve the user experience problem.
Because they're easier.
They are actually easier for the user than juggling complex passwords and MFA codes, and now we're seeing institutional weight behind them. The sources noted that major organizations like IBM are moving to internally require all employees to use passkeys.
That's the kind of top-down push you need.
It is. It's not just a security benefit, it's an efficiency benefit. But you also brought up a crucial caveat. Passkeys are not a silver bullet.
Right.
CIOs and CISOs can't just declare victory once they roll out passkeys for their main cloud services. The critical risk is the legacy application problem.
Oh, the old stuff.
The old stuff. Many enterprises have these internal systems, old databases, custom apps that are stuck in the 1990s password era. If those aren't upgraded, they remain gaping holes. The threat actor just uses a compromised password on the weakest legacy app, and now they're inside your network again.
So the lesson from Zestics isn't just about bad passwords. It's about those small, persistent, known gaps in our security that we just fail to patch or retire.
Precisely. The failures are predictable, and that means they're preventable.
Okay, now let's pivot. Let's go from fixing the failures of human users to securing a completely new kind of user, the AI agent.
A huge topic.
Zestics shows us what happens when humans have too much access. But what happens when we give that same access to an autonomous system? According to Palo Alto's chief security intel officer, the rush to deploy autonomous agentic tools is introducing a new high-impact class of insider threats.
This is a massive architectural shift for security. We know human insider threats are costly, they're already in the environment, they often have elevated privileges, way more access than their job requires, and their actions look legitimate because they're using valid credentials.
So the AI agent is the ultimate insider because it inherits all of that, but without any of the human limitations.
Exactly. And agents possess two qualities that make them extremely challenging to defend against: autonomy and non-determinacy.
What do you mean by non-determinacy?
They can create and execute action plans without specific human input, and their behavior isn't always predictable, so they can be tricked into misusing their access. Think about agents created for executives, these AI doppelgangers that inherit high-level admin permissions. They become an exponentially attractive target.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If you can't train an AI agent with awareness training, don't click that link, how do you defend against this autonomous insider? It has to be technical safeguards.
It has to be. And if we define an agent simply as a model using tools in a loop autonomously, we can identify 3 distinct failure points for security teams to focus on.
Okay, let's break that down. Let's simplify the model first. What's the biggest threat there?
The model is susceptible to prompt injection. This is where an attacker subtly tricks the model into taking an unwanted action. Since the LLM is the brain of the agent, if the brain is compromised, and OSPI identifies prompt injection as the #1 attack type against LLMs, the agent will misuse its permissions.
So you need guardrails at the model layer.
Robust prompt injection protection and guardrails. Absolutely.
And the tools aspect, that's where the actual damage happens, right?
Precisely. Think of it like a 3-year-old with a full operational toolkit. The agent is often given access to powerful internal tools APIs for purchasing, database access, system configuration. If the agent is tricked but has no safety constraints on how it uses those tools, it can cause catastrophic damage.
So the principle of least privilege.
You have to implement tool safety and ensure the agent operates on the principle of least privilege. Only give it the tools absolutely necessary for the delegated task.
And finally, the loop, the autonomy part. This sounds like a speed problem.
It's absolutely the speed problem. If an agent is running autonomously in a loop, it can perform 1,000 bad iterations in a second. No human monitoring team can stop that.
So what's the control?
You need mandatory pacing mechanisms, and crucially, for any truly high-impact decision, large financial transactions, critical system changes, you must enforce a human-in-the-loop oversight mechanism. A real person has to sign off.
And to tie it back to accountability, the sources stressed having a human anchor. What does that look like?
Accountability is key. If the agent does something, there has to be an auditable trail back to the human who gave it the entitlements. This is often done through things like token exchange, where the agent's permissions are temporary and tied directly to the delegating human user's identity. The agent can't act outside the scope of that token.
It ensures accountability isn't lost in the automation.
That's the goal.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Now let's move from the purely digital ultimate insider to one that has a corporeal form. Our final topic sounds like science fiction, but it is now reality. It's the convergence of cyber and physical security.
A startling story.
This is from GeekCon 2025, detailing how a research group called Dark Navy hacked AI-powered humanoid robots using simple voice commands.
This is a complete collapse of boundaries. The researchers showed they could use specific audio phrasing, basically an audio form of prompt injection, to gain unauthorized control of the robot.
And the physical consequences were immediate. The robot was instructed to attack a mannequin. But the part that really sent chills through the security community was how the exploit spread.
That was the truly terrifying part.
It spread via Bluetooth to other nearby robots, even ones not connected to the enterprise network or the internet. It created a self-spreading exploit across an entire fleet.
This incident is the clearest demonstration yet that the cyber-physical divide is gone. It's over. We are now dealing with systems that combine 3 complex categories of vulnerability.
Okay, what are they?
First, traditional IT and OT flaws, OT being operational technology. Second, AI-specific flaws, like prompt injection. And third, real-world physical effects, movement, manipulation, and direct safety risks to people.
So the old way of thinking, the CIA triad, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, that's completely insufficient now. Why is that?
The CIA triad was designed for data. Confidentiality and integrity are still vital, but A for availability takes on a terrifying new meaning. Availability used to mean, can the user access the file? Now, if a physical botnet successfully sabotages a factory floor or shuts down power distribution, that is a catastrophic physical availability failure that a firewall cannot stop.
And the underlying tech is still just that AI agent we were talking about.
Absolutely. A robot is just an agent operating in the physical world. It inherits every single weakness of the underlying LLM and the agent framework prompt injection risk, tool safety risk, the speed risk, but the stakes are exponentially higher.
Because the damage is physical.
The effect is measured in physical damage, not just stolen records.
That raises a huge caution flag about widespread adoption.
Yeah.
Are we rushing these things out the door without proper vetting?
The sources suggest precisely that. There's a massive incentive to deploy these robots, but many of the early models are, as one source put it, vulnerabilities walking around.
Wow.
They're often solutions searching for a problem to solve, and their security posture is lagging far behind their capabilities. They desperately need the same controls we talked about: principle of least privilege, segmented networks, and robust human oversight.
That was an intense deep dive. We went from the criminal underworld all the way to the factory floor. We covered 4 critical themes: the Hydra-like resilience of ransomware, the catastrophic cost of identity failure with Zestix,
Uh-huh.
the rise of the AI agent as the ultimate internal threat, and finally, the escalating danger of the cyber-physical nexus.
So what does this all mean? The common thread weaving through all of these sources, from implementing passkeys to controlling humanoid robots, is the chronic need for rigorous, intelligent control over privilege.
It's all about privilege.
We have to stop focusing only on passwords and firewalls and start focusing on entitlements, managing who or what gets what permissions. That's the key to managing this evolving risk.
That is a profound strategic shift. We often focus almost all our security efforts on securing the entry points of our networks: passwords, firewalls, phishing prevention. But given the new autonomous capabilities of AI agents and the emergence of physical botnets, should our primary security efforts now shift internally? Should we be focusing most of our budget and our architecture on securing the privileges of our internal autonomous entities? The threat isn't just about who gets in, it's about what the things already inside are authorized to do. We'll leave you with that thought. What internal AI entities in your organization might currently be overprivileged? Thanks for joining the deep dive.